Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the fourth Lean Business Ireland webinar, this one titled Beyond COVID-19, Stabilize, Reset and Recover. We are delighted to have a panel of three wonderful speakers and a moderator, the chairman of the Midlands Lean Network. I would ask, though, for some housekeeping at the start. Please remain on mute, as you are right now. Should you have any questions, you can use the chat function at the bottom of your screen, or you can email me, senan.oreen@ida.ie. You should have my email in your inbox already. All questions will be relayed to the moderator to put to the panel. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to Stuart to kick this off. Thank you.
Thanks, Senan. Everybody can hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, we have to do sign language because everybody's mic is on mute. I'd like to welcome you here to our fourth Lean Business Ireland national webinar. And today's theme is Beyond COVID-19, how lean thinking is helping businesses stabilize, reset, and recover. I'm delighted today to be joined by three great companies. Louise Lonergan from Lonergan Corporate Gifts, Aine Gleeson from WowWee, and Rosie Mansfield from Premier TEFL in Youghal in County Cork. So it's great to have these three businesses here. And when we look to see what businesses we're doing to meet this topic, we thought of these three particular businesses among the heads of enterprise. And it just so happened that all of these businesses are all micro enterprises who've all gone through the Lean for Micro program once or maybe even 2 or 3 times so far. And they're all really rocking it, as they say, in the business world at the moment. So they're really using their lean thinking and their lean mindset to work out how they can do things better within their business. The general platform for today, the general conversation for today is going to be around, understanding that COVID-19 has had a significant impact on our business so far and on our daily lives, and how as businesses we need to accept this as the new normal and look at ways of working to build this into our new business. It's also about finding a balance between accepting these new things and expanding out our business, and focus on how lean thinking has helped us to respond rather than react to what's going on, reach new customers, access new markets, and pivot. So these businesses were agile and lean enough to pivot and respond quickly to the market needs, to what they could do within their existing supply chain to help diversify their reach, and how they're meeting those challenges of scaling with the limited resources or the limitations that they're experiencing with the current situation. So now it's time for these businesses to hear how they're focusing on the building blocks for the future, and making sure that those building blocks they're putting in place is going to give them that future success. So we're going to start with Louise Lonergan. Louise Lonergan, you might just start by introducing yourself and your business, and just tell us about before COVID-19 or BC, what was your normal day-to-day activities like in your role as Managing Director of Lonergan Corporate Gifts?
Hi everybody, I'm delighted to be here with you all today. I'm starved of company, so I'm thrilled to have so many smiling faces back. So thank you so much for listening to me alone. I run the Lonergan Group and I have 3 businesses. So Lonergan Corporate Gifts, as you can imagine, all the golfers will be out playing golf at the moment, and the companies will be buying them their corporate gifts. The conferences and events will be flying. So that's a very good side of my business usually. Then I would have a reward and recognition, which deals with companies' human resources, so service awards for staff. And again, there's no staff in anywhere at the moment really. And then the third area, the brand new company that we've just launched, is Lonergan Health and Safety Solutions. And what we're selling is PPE products now, all essential services, as many as we can get, as fast as we can get them, for primarily our customers. And obviously now there'll be new companies coming on that we'll be hoping to help. And it's a lovely feeling, because I've never had this sense of duty before, and I'm really enjoying being able to help, and hopefully I can do that well. So.
And before all this kicked off, Louise, what was your typical day-to-day activities as head of Lonergan Group?
I think I have always had my sights. I'm 22 years on the go. I've always had my sights on going global and going worldwide. I'm So I'm a bit of a planner, and I love the lean that I did with Leo. I really enjoyed it, and any time that you can save, when you're running a small business, time is everything, and you have a small workforce to manage. So in any way that you can save time or money, it's fantastic. And I just love the automation, the digital world. There's so much great stuff going on. So I suppose about 2 years ago, I started my journey with cloud-based systems. If I expect to have contractors and workers worldwide, I'll have to have a remote system. So all of our accounts packages and what you would need, we've a central dashboard, is all in the cloud now, which is great. And it means now that I can actually have a workforce outside of Ireland, which is tremendous. And so it was amazing, because you know the way you always kind of say, will you manage, will you be able to get this across the line? Here is the test. And thank God, we have teething problems like everybody else, but thank God the team has been able to work remotely, and it hasn't affected us a huge amount.
So just talk us through that. So, I mean, in the past you did corporate gifts. So as you said, golfing gifts, rewards and recognition. What kind of impact did COVID-19 have on company operations? Now, you mentioned that you had an agile enough workforce that were able to work remotely. But in terms of the operations and how you delivered that value within your supply chain, getting products out, what kind of impact did COVID-19 have there for you?
Well, like, it's absolutely, I could talk about that all night, but more or less Lonergan corporate gifts is yeah, that's what I mean. So it's frozen. More or less, that business is put to bed for the moment. There's a small amount of stuff coming in, but nothing major. The reward and recognition piece is actually interesting, because although we haven't advertised it a great amount, there's a lot of companies now talking to us about when their staff come back. And we're sending out, like for Pfizer, we sent out packs to their staff, so they can look after their kids at home, and there's hand sanitizers in them, there's a bit of care, and there's Easter eggs and bottles of wine. And so there's a lot of companies that are trying to look after their staff, which is great to see. But in the end of the day, I knew that this wasn't going to sustain me, because I'm 22 years on the go. I've been through a hard recession, and I'm never going back down there again. If you're scarred, like I'm sure lots of you have been, it's not going to happen on my watch again. So very, very quickly, I was swatting, like probably everybody else, Taiwan, Singapore. How are they doing it? How are they managing? They'd been through SARS. How did they keep the country moving, and that kind of thing? And I quickly kind of began to think, what about hand sanitizers? Sent out an email to all our customers, and I just couldn't believe the response. We were 400% up in March in 2 weeks, a normal March, and so that was obviously the writing on the wall. This is where the company needs to go. So yeah, it was phenomenal. So we've more or less changed we've our other businesses on hold, more or less, and we're firefighting and rushing to market in the last 5 weeks with a new company.
So that sounds like a remarkable pivot, Louise. Like, what was it within your existing business model that allowed you to pivot, or to see that opportunity arise within your existing customer base? Did you have the existing suppliers in the place? Is it new customers? Is it existing customers?
Yeah, no, primarily, I mean, we are very lucky. We're all about looking after our USP is all about supporting our customers. Our team is their team. And so we know our customers very well, and the whole thing is about looking after them. They're the first people that we look after, and we need to deal with, and whatever they need. We don't know what procurement departments are dealing with, and I can imagine it's just a nightmare at the moment. So absolutely, our customers are our first port of call. But after that, then we have to reach out to anybody that needs help, and it's dramatic, the amount of people that need help and are scared and don't know what to do, and everybody's anxious to get back to their normal life. So as far as new customers, look, this is an area that I wouldn't be as great in. Marketing wouldn't really be my forte. So everything, LinkedIn, I'm a B2B business, so LinkedIn is very important. I've recruited a contractor up north that's going to bring in new warm leads for me. I'm looking into digital marketing at the moment. I'm looking at Amazon. I'm looking at everything. Everything is an opportunity, bar putting a plane in the sky with a flag hanging out of it, to say we sell PPE, you know, like whatever I can figure out.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, you've mentioned kind of international, you know, that you looked internationally to see what was going on. Is that something that you've always done in the past, that you tended, is this new to look to international trends within your market space? Was that something you did before, or is that something you just started to do because in response to COVID-19?
No, I absolutely love, I mean, I obviously love my own country and I love Ireland, but I love being outside of Ireland and mixing with different business people. I'm part of We Connect, which is an organization started in America, and they promote women and diverse businesses. So they will be introducing you to procurement people, like actually the people in IBM and actually the people, which was incredible learning, because they're the people dictating. And when you're a small business, they want to deal with a small business because, first of all, a big business like that is my whole world, you know. You have to move fast. The reason they're dealing with you is because you're agile, you're lean. My model has always been a contractor model, which I love for so many reasons. It's great for cash flow. It's great for, I think you're getting the best people in the marketplace. And I definitely think it's the way the world is moving anyway. But I can scale up and down as my customers need me to. Yeah, and I'm also part of another organization called Vital Voices, which is an American program, and it's run worldwide. I just think the supports that are out there are incredible outside of Ireland. And I think as well, they were talking about diversity in the workplace maybe 10 years ago, and they were talking about anti-slavery and slavery, 5 and 6 years ago. So I think it gives you an opportunity to be a little few footsteps ahead, because you kind of have an idea what probably is going to come next.
Okay, so looking internationally for those trends, and especially areas that, by the sounds of it, have gone through this situation before, how they've recovered, and seeing how we can take those external market forces into our business as well. You mentioned about Vital Voices and We Connect and international support. And I know we've connected through the Lean for Micro program in the Kildare Local Enterprise Office. Have you received any of the other state supports to help you navigate this situation in terms of any of the other voucher schemes that are out there at the moment?
Yeah, Leo are being extremely helpful. I've loved the Lean program I'm in my second stage of it, which I just couldn't recommend enough. I have the business strategic planning was very important for me, because I'm entering the marketplace. I don't know my supply. I don't know my competitors. I don't really know the margins. I don't really know what should be expected, and I have to do my housekeeping. So Leo gave me help with financial strategic planning, which I found very useful. And they've been very optimistic about other vouchers that I can receive as well, if I just get the time to write them up.
Okay, the application process.
But they've been very helpful. It's been great.
I do see some people on from the local enterprise office here today. So I mean, the feedback is always good to hear. That the application process can be tedious, but I mean the supports are there. And as I said, as you explained to me earlier on the week, you've managed to access them through the productivity voucher to help with the web development and the business continuity voucher in terms of planning the new market. And that development of an entire new business in terms of PPE and health and safety equipment and hand sanitizer and so on, to get that up and running in 4 weeks, what did that take, do you think? Or what kind of mindset did that take from your team to get that done? Bang's head on the table at this point in time.
I think I just have too much energy maybe sometimes, and I have 3 children to be fed, and my husband was one of the people that was let off at the beginning. It just kind of has to be done, and as I said, I am not going back into recession mode again. It's just not happening. So if there's anything that I can do, so I reached out to my networks. I am cheeky. I will totally, and anybody here, if they want to talk to me again, I have mentors. I ask people. I really am somebody that will ask everybody's advice. The main thing is we don't know everything, and we're never going to know everything. So I think you just have to be brave enough to kind of say, here, I'm not, at the moment, the marketing thing, I'm like, you know, I really don't know. I haven't done this really before. Who can help me with marketing? Who can, and I've spent many phone calls with friends and people in my network. So yeah,
Okay.
it's been very tough. It's like starting a new business all over again, but it's rewarding, and you have to be you have to be very, very careful who you're speaking with, because there's people that have no job. There's people that have built up amazing businesses and they're at home. So we have to be respectful of the fact that I'm lucky that I'm busy and I have my business is going.
Okay. I know, just by, as we talked earlier on in the week and looking at your website, some of the products are in such large quantities that cash flow could become an issue for a smaller business like yourself. How do you manage? Have you put any plans in place to support you with that, or any strategies in place around that?
So yeah, it is difficult because the supply chain is difficult at the moment. So we have put in new payment terms which are acceptable to a lot of customers because they understand the difficulty. And cash flow we're managing at the moment, but if any of the big sales come in, again, we're back into uncharted territory. So I've began applications for the likes of the HSE. Will pay you 7 days after the goods are delivered. But if you think about the cycle, by the time you have to pay up front for the product might land for 3 or 4 weeks. If there's any delay, that's your risk. And they pay you 7 days afterwards. Now, everybody in a big business knows that immediately could mean 2 weeks. You know, immediately is whenever the pay run is going on. So I've talked to factoring people, which is probably the old-fashioned word for it, but about things like that. Now, I would be very nervous about those things. It's alarming when you're an entrepreneur and you realize that you're not great with you're averse to risk. But look, if that's what I have to do, that's what I'll do. And like everything else, I'll get as much advice as I can, and I'll educate myself as quick as I can and as fast as I can on and try and make calculated risks, or take calculated risks.
Just some questions coming in already, Louise, if you want to consider them. There's been a lot of talk about fake products coming in, fake PPE. Is that something that you've been affected by so far, or?
It just makes everything a bit messy, and it's very upsetting for people, I'd say, and it probably worries and confidence. So yes, it's like, I suppose, everybody, there's cowboys in the market, and there's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, and it's unfortunate. I'd say from a confidence point of view, the same thing with the HSE getting the clothes in that were the wrong size. They should have never been in a position to be buying stuff. They had no supply chain experience in the past, so I can't really say anything about it. Everything I sell has health and safety certificates and CE certs. Everything is obviously sent in advance to the customer for them. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I don't have any of those skills. So you pass on the correct documents to the procurement team, and they vet them. A lot of the big businesses have doctors and scientists and all this on hand, and so I'm afraid that's way above my pay grade, all that kind of stuff.
Thanks, Louise. Just before we wrap up, a top tip that you can give to anyone going forward in this situation, helping them to stabilize, reset, and recover their business?
Fall in love with the problem. Fall in love with the problem. Business is a problem. Everything about business is always a problem. There's always something wrong. There's always something to navigate. Take opportunities. You know, grab at straws. Something might just come out of something that you just, as I say, I could have said, oh, I don't think hand sanitizers are not my thing, and I'm true to my who I am, which is supporting my companies, and I'm really delighted that I've been able to do that. That's been great. And I suppose working on the business as well as in the business is something that I'm just learning to do more. So yeah.
Okay, that's great, Louise. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Questions coming in. What we do is we might come back to you. So hang on, and we'll come back to you towards the end with any more questions that we have. Thanks, Louise. Next up, we have Aine Gleeson from WowWee, an award-winning, a Lean Business Ireland award-winning company, who last year took pride of place in the Project of the Year, I think it was, Aine, at the Lean Business Ireland Awards.
Yes. So it's a privilege to be here as one of the panelists. I'm surprised at all the people I know, the participants. There's like 6 or 7 there, so I didn't think I'd know anybody. So good evening to you all, and I hope I can bring value to you this evening from my findings through COVID-19. So WowWee.ie is an online gift company where 95% of our business is online, and a little bit like Louise, our business would be centered around occasions, celebrations, events. So it went from what if this happened to it all crashing overnight, and orders stopping, and my workforce unable to attend work. So overnight my business fell down around me. The business that I run, we personalize everything, and we would have a lot of different processes. So we engrave, we embroider, we print, and we do vinyling, and so we also paint, and we do a lot of crafting. So it's not everybody can step into those shoes. So I found myself from having a workforce of 9 people back down on the floor myself, trying to, and it just reminds me of trying to maybe cook a meal in somebody else's kitchen. I'm familiar with all the machines, and I own them all, and I've been trained on all of them, but hey, having to work them maybe against the clock, and without training and without people to give you an edge, I found that extremely challenging.
So prior to this, or BC as we're calling it, before COVID-19, what was your normal day-to-day roles and activities when running WowWee?
So like every business owner, I would come in, I would manage staff issues, I would manage the business. I'm big into planning, I would manage the financials, marketing campaigns. I would pretty much spend a lot of the day at my desk, planning for the business, working outside the business for it. And so to have to come back to the floor and leave the desk where I suppose all my controls were, was very challenging. Having to actually work, as I say, all the different machines, and work off the manuals and processes that I would have written during the lean program that I did, and trying to, I mean, they say books for dummies, but there was a lot of stuff missing out of them. So I had these beautiful manuals that were written during the lean, and yet trying to use them when it really came to it, there was a lot of gaps. So for me, going from where I thought was all working, when I tried to use it, it didn't work that way.
Okay, so it was a bit of an eye-opener, or a busman's holiday for you to get back on the floor. What do you think you've taken from that experience of, I mean, we talk in lean circles of going to Gemba all the time and going to see where the real work. Do you feel that over time that you've got more distant from that, and this has been an exercise in reopening your eyes to opportunities to improve?
It really has, Stuart. As I say, when you think you know something, you have to walk in someone's shoes to actually really understand it. You can think you understand somebody's problem until the problem comes through your own door. You don't really understand it. But one of the biggest things that came out of it for me was the amount of waste. So one of our suppliers, they supply us blankets, and each of the blanket comes in hard plastic packaging, and it also has a hanger in it. There's little bits of they're kind of stapled together, so that if this blanket is hanging in a store, it looks fabulous. For us to undo it could take the bones of 4 minutes. The recycling bin was being emptied twice a day, and so I would then have to pay to get it delivered or removed. So I got on to the supplier and I said, why is all this packaging coming? And he said, well, that's the way it comes. And I said, but it's of no good to me. I don't want the packaging. And he said, well, if you want the blankets, you're going to have to take the packaging. And I said, well, and I was placing a substantial order with him. And I said, I don't want the packaging. And he said, well, you'll have to take it. And I said, well, can you cancel up the order? So, and 2 days later, the order arrived unpacked without the packaging, and my bins are empty. The plastic that was surrounding the blankets will never break down. It's really hard. It's actually quite ugly, so I couldn't even see it selling in a store if it needed to. But he since rang me and said that he's got on to the supplier or the manufacturer in the Far East, and half their quantity next year is going to come without packaging, because he said, I never realised until you asked me to remove it how awkward and how cumbersome it all was. And he said, it actually took me 4 hours to get your order ready. So that in itself to me has emptied my bins, and to one of my staffs, they may not have understood that this could be different, but looking at it through a lean lens, you see all these things very vividly. I'd never seen that from my office.
No, and that's great to hear, you know, that even after so much, and I mean, it's what I think some companies seem to forget, that lean is about continuous improvement. So that even though we've gone through a cycle of improvement, and we've learned, and we've eliminated waste, and we've put in our new SOPs, as you've described there, that there's still opportunities to improve, which when you get down on the floor and you get to see them. Do you think there's more work to be done with the team then, in terms of, you mentioned that lean lens? Is that the approach you take within the business to make sure that they all see through that lean lens?
It is. Well, we were going through the lean program. Each of them managed their own department, so they wrote up their own processes, and then we got each of them to work within each other's departments so that they all understood it. The problem is none of them are here now, and I'm left to try and work them all. So it would work perfectly if even some of them were here, but the fact that none of them are here, that there's so many gaps. So I think, oh my God, I've got to do that 4 times a day. As I say, the rubbish has definitely reduced, but there's a lot more avenues when I see that working, where I could request my stock in a different fashion. The IT and printers, there definitely could be macros written for those for time saving. And our packaging, I think, could be a lot quicker and easier. Now that I'm actually putting boxes around boxes and tape, there are easier ways to do this, and I can't wait to get to a packaging fair to resolve all this.
Yeah, I mean, it does always boil down to that. This lean thinking is that relentless approach to, there has to be a better way. And I mean, it sounds like you getting on the floor and seeing that has shown that for you as well. You mentioned when we talked on the phone about, you know, how these changes in market trends have highlighted some areas of your business that perhaps aren't performing as well as they used to, or perhaps that you've realized that life is easier without these elements of the business, particularly the retail arm and so on. Just might talk me through that element of it.
So we have a showroom at the front, and the public are welcome to come in and order, but sometimes a person could take an hour in our showroom and tell me they'll think about it at the end. It needs to be manned. It needs to have all kinds of access points that a general shop would have, and safety, etc. Since the door has been closed, the peace of mind that I have that there's no public coming in, and that I don't need to staff it, I don't need to address anything that happens out there. I don't need to be worried about, you know, change in the till and somebody arriving 5 minutes late and maybe, you know, the door not open or stuff like that. It's been fantastic just having that closed. But also looking through my inventory in a different format. So as I say, First Holy Communion be very big for us. Christenings are huge. So they're very specific occasions, and anything with a date at the moment is cancelled. We started to learn about new market trends from our chat box on our website. So they come on and ask questions, and 90% of them at the beginning, and we're great for this in Ireland, we're trying to reach out to people in Ireland, England, and around the world who are in trouble with the COVID. And they were looking to send them something. Companies were looking to reach out to their employees who they felt so far away from. They felt they kind of sent them home with a laptop, and they couldn't even talk to them, they couldn't visit them, they couldn't send them anything. And so they came on and they said, what have you got? So I spent a whole weekend looking at my inventory and looking at my store and trying to recreate my offerings. So I had stock items that could have been there months, and I was able to turn them into cash. Especially over Easter, when people were really trying to reach out to children and employees and people they couldn't visit. I was able to do it for Mother's Day, even though I wasn't very organized for it, because that was, if you remember, nearly just 10 days after the kind of initial shutdown. So again, you know, there's stock there since Christmas. I thought that's probably not going to sell now till next Christmas, and people bought it. So we redesigned the tabs on the website, kind of took the occasions away, and we put up a category called Thinking of You, and we'd no idea the reaction and the traffic that would go through that tab. We've never had it. We've had thank you, we've had different ones kind of specific, but Thinking of You isn't just for COVID. We've had people who are very ill, people who are in trouble in all different ways. And when we see the greeting cards that they're sending, the messages, there's so many people trying to reach out to people other than specific occasions, that this could be one of our biggest business opportunities globally, and that we have a site that can target that really well with what we do. Because people who never personalize, when they're trying to reach out to somebody who's in trouble, they will. They want to bring that person into their life, and they want to bring them joy. So that's been a whole new kind of business angle for us, and I can see loads of opportunity in it. We have our website with Shopify, and they've also reached out with lots of different apps to make things faster for us. They've reached out with massive discounts, trying to bring us on to new apps that can make our life easier here. So there's savings there, and there's business angles. They've ran webinars as well to get us over it. So I'm actually really grateful to COVID for everything it's brought the business. It has me thinking differently. I'm definitely thinking about the business model and where I want to drive it. I would never have had the time, and I would never have had the need to look at my business in the way I have over the last 6 weeks while I've tried to manage it on my own with my grown-up children.
And you mentioned there about the business model, which leads into a question that's come in from the participants here today, from Joe. What do you think is going to change about your business model going forward, or the changes that you're making to your business model? Which other parts do you think will stick when the recovery comes?
I think probably going 100% online for sure. I know online so well. It works so well for me. People can negotiate on their armchair and buy off me if they want. We've got a chat, we've got an email, we've got so many facilities to help customers, and that business is so much easier than customers walking into the store. So the retail side of it, I think we might lose. Obviously, I don't want to make a decision on it, but it's definitely something that's really kind of highlighted to me at the moment, that it's the hardest part of the business with the least return, and that if I drive the business model more online with the new markets I've learned about, I can make a lot more profit.
And have you seen, by the sense, I know we've discussed, but have your online sales spiked, or has the addition of that Thinking of You category just helped stabilize the business, or have you seen a spike in sales?
I've seen a spike in some categories, and my business, well, today is the last day of the month, so hopefully by midnight tonight it'll be 16% up on last April. Wow. That is huge, because I've no First Holy Communion, so the fact that my eyes are nearly down there, my husband's wondering what I look like. It's been great. It's actually made me look at the time that's involved in each gift. There are smarter ways. I've noticed that, for example, if you get asked just to put a name on, it's very fast. If you get into dates and weights, I should be charging more for that. There's a lot more time involved. And to maybe a member of staff, it's their job and they'll go along and do it. But for me, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's actually taken me 40 minutes. The name took me 5. Get a grip here. So again, learning and leaning towards working smarter all the way. And what I'm doing is I'm writing it down, and then there's a little prong off everything I write down with maybe some solutions, because if you look at something long enough, the solution will pop out.
So that sounds like a tip. Have you any other tips that you might have as we wrap up this part of the conversation, Anya? Any other tips that we might have for other businesses in place?
I would say speak to the Leos at the moment. They've been very good to me. I've actually had a call from the head of Leo to say, are you okay? And here's my mobile if you ever need a chat. Wow. that kind of support is, he'll be sorry he gave me his number actually at the end of this, but that kind of support is invaluable. And just to use this time to reflect and see things differently. Like, I think we all got bothered and we panicked and we were shocked, and right now I'm looking on the COVID as a kind of gift to my business.
Okay, that's great. Aine, thanks very much. Thank you for your time. I'm delighted now to be joined by Rosie Mansfield of Premier TEFL and other enterprises, as we've probably learned about today. Rosie is well versed. She spoke at a couple of Lean events for us before in the Southwest Lean Forum, particularly around the Lean for Micro program. So Rosie, I'm delighted to welcome you here this evening, and thank you for taking the time to join us. Just might start, Rosie, with an overview of Premier TEFL to start with, and your role in normal data activities just before COVID-19.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you so much. And I'm actually sitting here so inspired by the two ladies who've gone before me. So I hope everybody is enjoying this as much as I am. Yes, I am. I'm Managing Director of Premier TEFL. We're an e-learning, e-commerce company, and we're based in Youghal. So primarily we train people to teach English as a foreign language. And for anybody who's heard of that, we might imagine a foreign classroom filled with Thai or Chinese kids and a native English speaker who's taken a course to enable them with the skills to teach English abroad. And we also have another brand called Premier Internships. And so we're still in the travel and education field. And that brand would have seen people being brought into Ireland on inbound Erasmus programs and also industry specific and hospitality in particular, paid internships here in Ireland. So when I'm in my normal day-to-day role, I tell the team that my core role is to make sure everybody else works together as hard as possible for the best results. Like I suppose a referee or something like that. And I do oversee, we're a small business, of course, I oversee all the different departments. So I would be very close to the sales team, close and in the trenches with marketing, finance, operations, and giving my 2 cents worth in anything to do with design as well. And so I would see myself, go on.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I see myself as a bit of jack of all trades, to be honest, Stuart.
I wouldn't be so harsh, but an expert of all trades, maybe Rosie. You might just tell us, what was the impact on COVID-19? So for most of us, this really became a reality in around mid-March, 12, 13, when the schools decided to close. That became a reality. But as Louise mentioned earlier on about having an eye outside in the world, and you've mentioned about having students or trainees, teachers placed all over the world. Like, when did COVID-19 become an issue for you, and what was the impact on your company operations? Or
Stuart, I'll never forget it. It was the 26th of January. January is a big month for travel. It's key. It sets off your year. You know, people make New Year's resolutions. They decide what they're going to do that year. And so January for us is typically huge. And we had a decent enough January. It wasn't wow. It wasn't spectacular. But we were coming to the end of January, and the 16th of January was when I finally sort of stood there and said, there's something terribly wrong going to happen. Because the pandemic, it wasn't a pandemic then, but we'll say the virus had a grip of China at that stage. And our Chinese teachers, our teachers that were based in China, were starting to contact us to say, we might actually head home. You know, and so for us, it began as an external business impact, very much that we were safe here in Ireland, and we were dealing with something that was abroad and a piece of our business, but we had no idea what was to come. So our operations team started dealing quickly with our people who were in China already and anybody who was scheduled to go out. And very quickly then our partners informed us that the winter semester in Chinese schools was not going to happen. The school semester was just not on. So our group of teachers that were supposed to go out just after Chinese New Year, everybody was cancelled. And then as a precaution, the next sort of phase was that all the schools in Vietnam closed, and they had only just reopened 2 weeks, and we had a group of teachers who'd just begun their placement there. So we saw this domino effect happening, and it was sort of unfurling in front of our eyes. And our team worked really hard to to do everything that was needed to take care of our teachers. And so that's not business growth. That's looking to, you know, you're looking at your customers that you've already sort of onboarded, and you're looking after them. And a lot of resource went into that the end of January and into February. And February felt like quite a long month for us. In the end, it was okay in terms of business result, but we spent a lot of resource talking to our partners in Southeast Asia, and all the time the virus was growing and spreading and everything like that. And by the time we got to early March and it started to come into Europe, I sat down at the computer and I opened a Google Doc and I typed COVID crisis management plan, and I started writing, the purpose of this doc is for continued viability of primary education partners. And I just put everything onto it that I could think of that was potentially going to happen. And I started planning for the layoffs and short time. And I started talking to the staff in the office very quickly about, if this reaches our door, you know, this is what we might need to do to protect ourselves and protect our jobs for the long term. And we did all that, and we did all our planning, and I talked to suppliers and advertisers and everybody that we work with within the business. And I said, we may need your help. We may need to pause our advertising. We may need to reduce our costs, spread out our payments, talk about rent holidays, all that kind of thing. And I was really preparing for the worst, because I knew our Erasmus group wasn't coming. Our 4 people who were scheduled to come for independent hospitality internships weren't coming, and we were then working with all of that, the school group and the educators on that side, to pause and to talk about a future date, and they were going cancelling their flights and everything, and it was all looking very doom and gloom. And all the while in the background, the sales of online TEFL courses were coming in, and people were thinking about self-education, upskilling. They were thinking about, some people had already been laid off, and they were looking at online education, and then they were sitting at home going, what do I really want to do? Well, after this, I want to travel, because I can't travel right now. And so the 16th of March was the last day that we all went to the office, which was the day to collect all of our laptops, all of our belongings. And I told people, just imagine that you might not be here for a few months. Take everything that you need. And it you know, it was heart-wrenching, because I treat my office like an extension of my home. You know, it's got tub chairs and rugs and things like that, and all kinds of motivational stuff up on the wall, and I felt like I was closing off a piece of my whole family by sending these people home. And we finished up on the 31st of March having essentially one brand completely frozen, and the internship business, which is where we send people out abroad, frozen. Anybody who was gone was coming home, or else they were kind of locked in where they were in their compounds. And anybody who was due to go in the future all had to be paused, and we had no answers for any of their questions. But while we were doing all this work, the online TEFL sales were rolling in, and we finished up at the end of March with the most revenue we've taken in a month ever on record. And it kind of snuck up on us. And I was nearly afraid to verbalize it, because I couldn't understand how, you know, while we've been beavering away doing all this other stuff, we'd actually come in with an amazing result. And we started off then the start of April thinking to ourselves, could it be possible? Could it be possible that we're on reduced hours, that we're at home, that over half of what we can sell cannot be sold? Is it possible that we could turn in another month like that? And on the last day of April, we've beaten March.
That's great, Rosie. Fantastic. You mentioned, has the market changed? So are they the same customer segments? Are they new customer segments? Are they looking for something different, a different value proposition, different products and services?
I think yes, I think is the short answer, which is rare for me.
I actually didn't know if you could give short answers. I didn't know if that was possible, but we'll take that. But
I'll go into that. But one of the first days I was at home, okay, it was, I'd seen on LinkedIn a friend, I call her a friend, Claire O'Leary. She's in Munster Fire and Safety. She is from Northern Ireland also, so that's why she'll forever be a friend. But she shared something on her LinkedIn profile, which was a webinar. And I never had any time for webinar. 2 small kids working all the hours. I wouldn't join a webinar. I couldn't tell you I'd be in one place at a certain time. Couldn't commit to it. But anyway, I was downstairs and I just saw this come up on my LinkedIn feed, and it was starting really soon. And I just clicked on it. It was 10 things you need to do in your business right now during COVID-19. And she said, oh, I think this will be good. So I joined it. I was there in the living room, rolling around a mat with the 10-month-old baby, and I just got headset. I plugged in the headset into my ears, and I tucked the phone into my pocket, and I listened to this guy, and he was so passionate. And he said, guys, if you're at home in your business now, he said, you must do these set things to survive this. Do not hesitate. Take action now. And he really got me going. And one of the things that he said, which I would steal as my top tip, okay, is look at your industry, look at your space, and align yourself with the growth. Seek out the growth in your industry and align yourself. So I sat there downstairs playing with the baby, and I was like, I have to get closer to online teaching. So classrooms were closed globally. All language schools were closed. The only way that you could teach English now was to do it online. So the next day, I got the designer and the web guys, and I had a meeting. I was like, we need a whole new section of the website, teach English online. We need to change the homepage. We need to align ourselves because this is a growth area. And if we don't do it fast, somebody else will beat us. And we did do that quite fast, but I didn't go far enough. I did make a new page and a new section, and we've got the guide out now and things like that. But other people have beaten us to the, we'll say, to the finish line with different elements of this. They've got online webinars, live webinars to get certified as well. So we're about 2 weeks behind them on that front. Other people have already started delivering webinars on essentially sales pitches. You know, they're running webinars that inform people about the courses instead of being in the office with a TEFL advisor one by one. One by one, we inform people about the same questions and the same answers and things like that. So getting back to your original question, has the market changed? Yes, it's changed in the sense that people cannot travel abroad right now. So I've got 2 core customer profiles, and I know this because like Aine, like Louise, I had to get into the trench straight away, you know, and I was on the front line, and I was talking to leads from the minute that we closed the office, because if the phone rings and somebody else is on a call, I can't see if they're on a call because they're in their home. So if the phone rings and it's coming through to all our laptops, you just got to pick it up. So I ended up talking to a lot of customers, potential customers. And the great news was I got to learn very quickly. Some people are at home and they want the best qualification that they can get so that when all this is over, they can emerge like a butterfly out of a chrysalis, upskilled and demanding more money in their workplace. And then we've got the other profile of people who are at home with nothing productive to do and that they want to do something now. So doing a minimum entry-level job course and then teaching online from home gives them something to do.
Okay, that's great to hear how the jobs that customers require doing has changed, and you're able to pivot with that as well. You made a very interesting point, and we won't dwell very much into one aspect of this, but how already we're very well set up in terms of daily Scrum meetings, using Trello, using G Suite. So you had all the tools and technology in place as part of your day-to-day practice. But you mentioned that you missed something, and I think you called it passive listening.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very interesting point. You might just expand on that for everyone.
For sure. And I think that having gone through, we're an e-commerce company, and having gone through 2 rounds of lean programs, we were, I think, better equipped than a lot of companies to go remote. And I took the team remote too. So everybody is still there. There's nobody that is laid off fully. So we might be on short hours, but everybody is still working. And so we still all need to connect. And even in our office, there might be still less than 10 people day to day, but we still operate Skype chats so that you don't have to talk over the top of other people and things like that. So we did have a lot of tools in place, Skype, WhatsApp, Trello, different things like that. And then when we moved to the remote working, I personally think I've never been more productive, but that's because I'm alone with my laptop beavering away like a lunatic. And when I'm in the office, I am earwigging on a lot of conversations because I'm listening to see, is there a new trend emerging? is there something that I can add value to in a conversation? So I do miss the passive listening. I miss listening to the sales calls and finding out what people are asking that day, or if I hear an unusual question being answered, I'll dig into it a bit more, because that might give me an idea for a blog for the website that will answer more questions for customers, and then they know we're the authority, and then they have trust to buy. So I do miss that for sure, but I mean, we're not missing it on the turnover, you know.
Okay, Rosie, that's great. We're just coming up to time. That was brilliant. Thank you so much. Lots of very interesting content. Some questions coming in here. So I know Senna's just unmuted the three panelists' microphones. So a couple of questions that came in. One of those questions was about upskilling. Do you think when we re-engage our workforce back into the office environment, if that's the way we do go, is there going to be a requirement for our teams to upskill in some way in our new ways of working and our new business models? Let me start with yourself, Louise, and Aine on that.
Rosie will know more about the upskilling, but I think it's going to change everybody's life and business, and all the Googles and all this with all the square footage. Some people have really enjoyed working from home and really like it. I think there's a lot of people that find it very isolating. So I think we could definitely see 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, which I think would be so great, because it gives us more time and more. And I mean, I think this is what they say, the millennials and the Zs and all this, we all want a better balance in our life. So personally, that's what I think is going to happen. It's opening a whole new opportunity for people that don't have to sit in their car for an hour every morning going to work, and the cost of all that. So.
Yeah. And only for your own team, I mean, some of your processes within WowWee can be manual once they come in. Do you think there's going to be an upskilling element there for your team when they return?
Absolutely. So I see so much opportunity to tighten up on the way we do things and to automate. But in order to automate, there'll be a lot of training needed for everybody. Companies are reaching out. There's grants, there's vouchers there for all kinds of upskilling, training, and assistance. So I think no better time to avail of it. But I do think I could have been able to lean on them more remotely, had they better training with technology. Definitely with sort of emailing and social media trends and stuff like that. If they could work better remotely for me, it would have helped me over this, so I won't let that happen again.
So that's something you'll look to build into the retraining schedule, and a couple more remote working days as well. Interesting. In terms of yourself, Rosie, in terms of upskilling, do you think there'll be any upskilling need to be done when you guys return?
Well, I think I do think we were well equipped. You know, we are quite well automated with a lot of our processes, because everything is e-commerce already. And with our customer relationship management system, doesn't matter where you are, if you log in, you get the same view of the customer. It's all very transparent. So I think that possibly on the upskilling, we might be okay. However, what I think is that this has been an opportunity to see what is not critical, what does not have to be done. More than ever, more than us sitting around the office and doing a thing about what do we do, how do we do it, and could we do it better, and trying to shave off sections of processes and things. I think that this shockwave that has gone through our business by being forced to go home and being forced to reimagine how we do business, it's sort of awoken a lot of our team members to say, I don't need to do that anymore. I can do this and it'll be grand. You know, we'll get the same information. Some of our reports were duplicated because people had done that report for so long, and we had 3 years worth of data in this one spreadsheet. So we'll just keep doing it, as well as this dashboard that's automated. And in the end, you know, when I spoke to one of my team who was going on to 2 days instead of 5, he said, I'm not doing that spreadsheet anymore. And I was like, that's all you needed. You just needed a pandemic to cut ties with things that we love to do because we've always done them. Yeah. And so I think it's to use Aine's words, a little bit of a gift from a lean perspective, to dissect your business completely like a jigsaw and put back the core pieces and not the other stuff, not the rest of the noise that's not necessary.
Yeah, and I think as we've talked to lots of businesses during the week as well, we found that, you know, it might be a bit of a sour gift and sometimes, but it has disrupted the marketplace so significantly, and that we have the opportunity to innovate and try new things at pretty low risk levels as well, because we've no choice and we've no competition. So it's an ultimate for established businesses. We're back acting like startups essentially as well. A couple of prices have come in, a couple of questions have come in about pricing. So first of all, have we had to drop our prices in any way, particularly to Aine and Rosie, in order to attract business in or to get those increased sales for April?
So we will be in quite a saturated market. There's a lot of online TEFL training providers and a lot of focus for every company who does the online portion of the training. So all of the classroom stuff was paused and they focused everything on the online. So it is, you know, we're not unique in our space, and I would have worked with maybe 4 or 5 of the business owners from other key TEFL companies around the world. So we're all, you know, all great leaders from that perspective. So yeah, it's tough. We do have to run offers, promotions, discounts. So we just have to be very focused with our marketing to make sure that we give the customer exactly what they want at the right time.
Okay, that's great. Aine, did you have to drop your prices in any way?
No, if anything, I have increased a few of them, and I don't think it's a time to kind of manipulate the situation. However, I think I touched on it earlier. A lot of stuff was taking a lot more time than it was costed for when when I actually was doing the processes. So I had to increase some of them, and people are still ordering them. I think it's just the volume of orders that my sales have gone up, and a lot of hard work. But no, I don't like increasing price at this time. But yeah, there were some items that were definitely underpriced.
Okay, that's great. Okay, guys, we're just coming towards the end. So I might just ask each of you just to wrap up maybe with one lesson that you've learned from this whole situation within your business. I might start in the order in which we spoke. So just one lesson that you think you've learned in order of from this process. So Louise, might I start with you?
I suppose I'm proud of everybody, and I'm proud of the way we've all come together. And it really, I know everybody keeps talking about the health services, but we really have everything wrong. The stars and all those people that we admire. And realistically, Ireland is such a great country and we're so great. And we've talked about Leo being so helpful, but everybody is trying to help everybody. You walk down the street and you know, everybody's so friendly and everybody's so delighted. You know, your health is your wealth. And look, as I say, I'm just very proud of us all for doing what we've done. So yeah, I think it's just the human side has been really lovely.
Thanks a million, Louise, and thanks again for your time this evening. Aine?
And I would agree with Louise. We've had people send us the most beautiful reviews on video and orally written. We never get those because they haven't got time. And now they've got time. They appreciate it. They reach out to us thanking us for working when they're at home, and thanking us for being able to send gifts to their mother's 90th birthday. The only connection they could make was through us. And we've had the most beautiful emails, and like Louise says, the people of Ireland are amazing. They reach out to each other, and you can see it in the messages and the gift cards, and how we're all trying to get through this and take care of each other. And we're so lucky to work and live in a country where there's supports everywhere.
Okay, that's great. Aine, thanks again for your time this evening. And Rosie?
When I first started working from home, so 6 weeks ago now, and I started taking those calls through that I was talking about, I talked to somebody from Trinidad who was in Shanghai, and she said, "This will pass, Rosie, this will pass." And I talked to another lady in Italy, so that 2 hotspots, you know, within the same week, and it gave me great sort of great inspiration to say that this is not going to be forever. It is going to be temporary. So Rosie, do not worry about what cannot be done. Look at what can be done and what needs to be done right now. And I think that we have gotten over the initial shock of it, you know, and where we downed tools and said, I must close my business. And we are emerging, you know, like a phoenix out of the ashes. we are reconfigured, we are remotivated, and we have had the time that we would never give ourselves to sit down with Pages or with Google Docs or whatever and say, what can I do now? And I'm excited because the people in this webinar and the people who watch it afterwards, they will be able to reimagine what they can do and go for it.
That's great. Thank you, Rosie, and thanks again for your time. So guys, just to wrap up, I mean, it's been great to hear three great businesses who are working really hard. And when we looked at pulling together the panel for this evening to see what companies are doing to help them reset, stabilize, reset, and recover their business, I mean, these three businesses popped into our mind pretty quickly. It just so happened that they're micro enterprises, but micro enterprises are the same as teams in multinational organizations as well. So, I mean, we have a lot of lessons to learn from them as well. A couple of the points that I've kind of taken from this evening, you know, in terms of Louise about falling in love with the problem, and to expand on that, it's falling in love with the problem, not the solution, and our customers and not our products, and not be afraid to go out there and listen, as Rosie has done, as to what jobs are our customers trying to do, what are the trends that are out there. And we're a little island here in Ireland, but these businesses have all looked internationally to see what's going on and to see what's happening. And maybe we should see, if nothing, COVID-19 teaches us nothing else, perhaps it's that we are affected by global issues, and perhaps we should all look a bit more globally at what's going on and what the trends are to help us. I mean, for Rosie to say she was aware of COVID-19 and the impact on our business from January 26th was quite impressive. And us all scratching our heads on the 16th, wonder, oh, sure, terrible Paddy's Day parade isn't going to happen tomorrow as well. But I think from these businesses, even hearing from them saying that, you know, we have to be careful talking about our success at this time. And even that sometimes it was a little bit of luck, but I think what I can hear is that the harder that each of these individual businesses have worked, the luckier they have got. And I think that seems to wrap it up nicely. The harder we work, the luckier we get. So on that, I will wrap up for everyone. Just to remind everyone here who's not registered with Lean Business Ireland to go onto the Lean Business Ireland website, register for your local network or register for all of the networks to receive updates on what's happening on both the national stage and also on the regional stage as well. And again, to look towards, I know a lot of the physical events have been cancelled, but these virtual events are happening on quite a regular basis. So do get involved, to register, so that we know we can contact you to let you know that they're happening as well. So on that, I'll bid you good night, everyone, and thank you for your time and participation and your questions. Thanks, everyone.